In a world that never stops talking, those who dare to be silent shine differently. We live in an era where words are thrown around like confetti, tweets, texts, comments, endless opinions. But the soul, unlike the internet, does not need to be filled. It needs to be felt. The Buddha once taught, just as a storm cannot last forever, so too does noise give way to silence. And in that silence, we begin to see not just the world around us, but the truth within us. This is not a story about staying silent to avoid life. This is a story about choosing silence to embrace life. This is about discovering the moment when saying nothing becomes the most powerful thing you could do. Welcome to a story of stillness, awareness, and a heart as light as a cloud. In a quiet village tucked between mountains and rivers, there lived an old man named Tao. No one knew exactly how old he was. His hair was white like snowfall, and his eyes were calm like a still lake. But what made him truly mysterious was this. He had not spoken a word in over 20 years. He wasn't mute. He could speak, people said. He simply chose not to. Some thought he was a saint. Others thought he was mad. But all agreed. Whenever someone sat next to him in silence, something in them began to soften. One day, a young man from the city came to find Tao. His name was Lin. He was ambitious, smart, successful, but also restless, anxious, and often overwhelmed. "I heard you can help people without saying a word," Lin said as he arrived at the old man's hut. Tao smiled gently, gestured to a wooden bench under the trees, and motioned for him to sit. For 3 days, they sat in silence. The young man's mind roared at first, full of thoughts, questions, insecurities. But the old man said nothing. On the 4th day, something shifted. Lin began to hear more than silence. He noticed the sound of birds, the breeze in the trees, the rhythm of his own breathing. By the end of a week, he no longer needed answers. He no longer felt the need to explain, justify, or prove himself. Instead, he whispered to the old man, "I came here thinking silence was empty, but now I feel full." The old man smiled again, nodded once, and for the first time in decades, he spoke. Exactly. Why did Tao remain silent for 20 years? Because he understood one thing deeply. The world doesn't suffer from lack of answers. It suffers from too much noise. In our daily lives, we often speak to escape the discomfort of silence, prove we are smart, defend our image, control the narrative, but silence is not weakness. It is presence. It is the ability to stay with what is, without rushing to fix, define, or escape it. The old man knew that words often get in the way of truth. That wisdom doesn't scream. It waits. In silence, it unfolds like a flower blooming without effort. The young man didn't need advice. He needed space. Space to hear himself. Space to let the mind settle. And in that space, he met something deeper than logic. He met peace. When we speak less, we hear more. When we stop reacting, we start reflecting. And in that reflection, clarity is born. As the Buddha said, "Speak only when your words are more beautiful than silence." Why did Tao remain silent? For 20 years? Because he understood one thing deeply. The world doesn't suffer from lack of answers. It suffers from too much noise. In our daily lives, we often speak to escape the discomfort of silence, prove we are smart, defend our image, control the narrative, but silence is not weakness. It is presence. It is the ability to stay with what is, without rushing to fix, define, or escape it. The old man knew that words often get in the way of truth. That wisdom doesn't scream. It waits. In silence, it unfolds like a flower blooming without effort. The young man didn't need advice. He needed space, space to hear himself, space to let the mind settle. And in that space, he met something deeper than logic. He met peace. When we speak less, we hear more. When we stop reacting, we start reflecting. And in that reflection, clarity is born. As the Buddha said, "Speak only when your words are more beautiful than silence." Now that you've journeyed through this story, let me offer you a few simple, gentle ways to practice silence at the right time. Not as a burden, but as a blessing. You don't need to escape to the mountains. You don't need a retreat center or a monk's robe. You only need a few moments and a willing heart. Here are 4 ways to begin. 1. Morning stillness. 5 minutes of sunrise silence. Before the world awakens, give yourself 5 quiet minutes. Don't scroll, don't talk. Just sit by the window or step outside. Let the morning light touch your face. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out gently. In that silence, you'll find your center again. 2. Silent meals. Eating like a meditation. Try eating 1 meal a day in silence. Put your phone away. Close your laptop. As you chew, notice the texture, the warmth, the gift of nourishment. Let eating become an act of gratitude, an experience of presence. 3. Listening without preparing to speak. Next time someone speaks to you, listen. Not with the intent to reply, but simply to understand. Feel their emotions. Let go of judgment. Your silence can be a safe space for others to heal. 4. A daily pause, the sacred 3 minutes. Pick one moment during your busy day, after lunch, before a meeting, or even while waiting in line. Close your eyes for 3 minutes. Do nothing. Just breathe. Just be. Let silence become your sanctuary in the middle of chaos. These small practices aren't just techniques. They are doorways. Doorways to a life that breathes slower, feels deeper, and loves more freely. Dear soul, you've walked with me through silence, through story, through stillness. And now, I hope you feel something new within you. Or perhaps not something new, but something you had simply forgotten. The quiet part of yourself, the peaceful, gentle, unshaken part. Let me say this clearly. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not lost. You're just busy, like most of us. And sometimes all it takes is one pause, one breath, one silent moment to return. So, tonight, don't just end this video. End the noise. Put your phone down, light a candle. Sit with yourself and listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. Because when you are quiet at the right time, your heart becomes as light as a cloud. And in that weightlessness, you fly. If this video has touched something in you, give it a like. Not for me, but for yourself. Share it. Someone out there needs this silence. Subscribe. Let's keep walking together, one peaceful story at a time. Until then, may you be safe. May you be calm. May you be free. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.